Yes, okay. Thank you to our lovely moderator for the day, Dr. Wan, for leading our forum this morning. Okay, so Assalamualaikum and a very good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you to the moderator, Dr. Wan, Dr. Hikmah, Dr. Chibilin, for the evaluators, and last of all, ladies and gentlemen of the forum. So talking about genomics, because Dr. Wan, the question that was asked by Dr. Wan was that how am I going to, how can we actually apply computational biology in assisting for plant tolerance? So this is actually very close related to genomics. So I'm pretty sure maybe some of you have not even heard the word genomic before. So allow me to briefly explain what genomics actually is. So genomics is actually the study of the structure, the function, the evolution, or maybe the mapping and the editing of genomes. So what are genomes? So genomes are actually the complete set of DNA in an organism. So basically, in other words, you're actually studying the structure, the function, the editing of the complete structure of the DNA of the organism, or in our case, the plants or the crops. So maybe some of you are wondering, wait, Shafiq, isn't that like genetic, just like our second panel, Miss Shaza just explained? Well, actually, genetic and genomes are actually different. Genetic is actually the study of a specific gene in the DNA, where the genome is the study of the complete set of DNA. So basically, it is more in a collective aspect. For example, we are actually looking at the DNAs that are responsible for a certain process in the for a certain metabolism in the plant. For example, for the DNAs that are responsible for photosynthesis, or the DNAs that are responsible in building hormones that are responsible for root elongation, just like Miss Shaza just explained just now. So, or maybe we are actually looking at the DNAs, the complete set of DNAs for one particular variety of plant, and another variety of plant, and we are trying to look and we are trying to map the genetic line of both of these two type of varieties, and we are looking for the evolutionary divergence of these two variety. So basically, genomic is actually the study, or is a more broad way of genetics. So maybe some of you maybe are quite confused, but I hope by the end of my session, all of you will have a clearer mindset about genomics and genetics. That is my objective today. So I hope all of us can achieve that. Okay. So talking about genomic, where we want to apply when we want to apply computational biology, of course, we will talk about plant genome database, because when we want to apply genetics or DNA informations, we will usually refer the plant genome database. So now, what are the plant genome database? So the plant genome database is actually a database of molecular sequence data for all plants species with significant sequencing efforts. So in other words, it is actually a database that provides you the genetic information, the DNA information that researchers, scientists, or maybe our students want to use for our projects to be applied in any kind of way of genetic engineering or genetic modification. So because when we want to do genetic modification or genetic engineering, we must know first what kind of gene we are actually handling, what gene we want to use, how we want to insert, because as Ms. Shaza also explained just now, there are various ways of genetic editing or genetic modification. But when on how we want to insert, if we want, for example, if we want to insert a new foreign gene into our variety of plant, there's multiple ways, but we cannot actually use all of way. We can actually use not all way can be used in the same gene. So basically, some gene cannot be used transformation, some genes cannot use transduction. So at the end of the day, it depends on that gene. So how do we know this information? From referring to the plant genome database. So just a bit of history from the plant genome database. If some of you study genetics, so maybe I'm pretty sure you will already heard of the name Arabidopsis. If you learn genetics, you will heard the name Arabidopsis more than your own name. Because basically Arabidopsis is everyone use Arabidopsis in the genetic field because if I'm not mistaken, I've actually read an article. It said Arabidopsis is the most truly studied plant in all species, because Arabidopsis is very useful in the genetic experiments because of its characteristics of short generation time. Because when we want to study genetics, usually we need to use a lot of generation. So if we use plants that have a long generation time, for example, 3 months or 4 months, then for example, for at least we want to produce 3 generation, then it will take for about 9 months to 1 year just for the time to let the plant grow and develop. So that actually already take a lot of time. So this is why Arabidopsis is deeply favored, because it has a very short generation time. And not only that, it's also small in size. So and it also has self-pollination. So it is very beneficial to the genetic studies. And because of this, Arabidopsis is the first full plant genome database that is available in the plant genome database. So because of this, Arabidopsis can become a base or a model for the scientists to apply genetic studies to other types of plants. So just a little bit of history on plant genome database and on the evolution of Arabidopsis. So as I was saying, because of Arabidopsis have the first full genome plant database, it has opened it has actually opened a new door or paved the way for other plants in the field of genetics study. So one of the aspects in genetic studies are actually the evolutionary divergence, where actually when you have two groups of plants with the same species that evolve differently within the same group. So for example, you have one type variety of paddy. So when people breed, plants, usually they will breed in a lot of quantity, and sometimes when you breed plants, they will cause mutation, and sometimes this mutation will cause new evolution of variety. So when this evolution happen, sometimes the traits that the newly traits that emerge in this new type of species are sometimes beneficial for the farmers that we want actually the traits. For example, they have a high trait drought tolerance. Maybe the wild type or the commercial type that we use are usually the moderate type, or the moderate has moderate level of drought tolerance, but the new evolution one has a high level of drought tolerance. So we actually want the trait. So how can we actually use this trait? Just as Shaza said, through gene editing. But before we do the gene editing, since this is a new trait, we must study first this new type of gene. And after studying this new type of gene, that new data, that new information will be stored in the plant genome database. And the plant genome database can be used by other researchers, by other scientists, and to further study about that particular genome, or maybe use that particular genome itself to insert to new variety of plants, so that that new variety of plant will have the trait of high drought tolerance, for example. So imagine the power of genomics and genetic engineering have in producing crops that can actually save our food security in Malaysia. So when we actually do evolutionary divergence, just as I said just now, when we compare these two type of new variety of plants, it is actually called the comparative genomes, where we actually lay out both of the DNA, both of the genome set of the variety of plant, and we pinpoint the similarities and the differences. And by looking at the differences, these differences can actually very helpful, will become very helpful and beneficial to the scientists, because they can already know what it has already narrowed down the possible genes that are responsible in emerging those traits, those new traits in the evolutionary type. For example, that I said just now was the high drought tolerance. So all of these skills, it requires computational biology when you want to compare the genome and the evolutionary divergence. It requires, and when you want to refer to the plant gene database, maybe when you listen to me and explain about the plant gene database, maybe you're wondering, oh, it's quite easy. Actually, no, I'm actually simplifying, but in real life, it is a very complex study about computational biology. It is much harder. So this is why actually bioinformatics are actually one of the emerging course study in Malaysia, because it is very useful, especially as our moderator, Dr. Wan, just said just now, during this big data era. But still, of course, every coin has two sides. So basically, also even this study has its own limitations, such as like I said, Arabidopsis has a very short generation time, right? But not all crops are like that, unfortunately. So usually when we do tissue culture, because usually when you want to do genetic research, usually we conduct tissue culture. So the tissue culture usually take a lot of time, and again, it is a very complex and intricate process. So it is not very easy, and it takes a lot of time. Those are the limitations in the study of genomics and genetic engineering. So how can we actually use this kind of study to ensure, to create new tolerance, or maybe ensure the food safety or security in Malaysia? So when we have the plant genome database, we actually have our own genetic resources, where we have because we actually know which genes are responsible for what trait. So when we know the information about these genes, we can actually make new varieties that are tailored, tailored for our own country, for our Malaysia, for our climate in Malaysia. For example, we have wet season and dry season. If you are paddy farmer, you will know you have wet season and dry season. So during the wet season, we can actually use paddy, for example, paddy with varieties that have submergence tolerance, and during the dry seasons, we will switch to another variety of paddy that have drought tolerance. So to make this submergence tolerance, drought tolerance, it requires genomics and genetic engineering. So at the same time, this will also secure our food security. Because, for example, it actually acts as a early planning for future disasters. I will give an example. Like during 1991, the volcano eruption or Pinatubo eruption, volcano eruption in Philippines. Because of the eruption of that volcano, the volcano is not even in Malaysia; it's in the Philippines. But it actually disrupts it actually have decreased, the palm oil production in Sabah by 18% due to photosynthesis, to the low rate of photosynthesis by the palm oil trees. So how can we actually increase photosynthesis rate, right? So one of the obvious way is through genetic engineering. We can actually increase the chlorophyll number in the plants just by genetic engineering. So how can we do that? By genomic studies, by computational biology. Then we can do the genomes. This is actually my final year project, where I'm actually doing a genetic studies project about to increase one of the genome, one of the genes in the Arabidopsis, and how it factors the photosynthesis rate of the plant. So if we can, for example, I will give myself an example. So when I finish my final project and I have information about the gene that actually contributes in the photosynthesis rate of the plant, that when I publish that, the information will eventually can be accessed in the plant genome database. And as I said earlier, it can be used by other scientists, by other researchers, by other plant breeders to make new varieties of plant that can increase the rate of the photosynthesis of the crop itself. So I think that is all from me for my session. So I hope from what I just explained just now, all of you will have, it will open a new eye, open a new world in genomic and genetic engineering. That is all from me. Thank you. I will give back to Dr. Wan.
Thank you.